challenges of that. I didn't incur those challenges, so not as aware, but although noting that it would be a challenge, it was interesting to hear the challenges they spoke of. And I counseled them a little bit on some of the conversation we've already had. Slow down, go back, get to know your folks, know your product, know your people. Very good salespeople, very capable of selling. Some of them selling on a national level in other industries. But again, this is a service, and you have to understand the service you're providing and be able to articulate that correctly to your owner so you don't have misunderstanding. So my advice to them was put the brake on a little bit and be a little more patient, and don't expect to make that sell as quickly as you would like. It takes a little time.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. I know, Chris, you and I have talked about a book that I have actually shared with, many, not just business development people, but companies around the country in the last couple of years, a book called The Challenger Sale. And the reason I like that, I guess you'd have to technically classify it as a sales book, but it's not your typical sales book. It's not how to close the deal or how to get past the gatekeeper 101. It really is more about building for the sales individual to build a real knowledge of their organization, their industry, and then certainly find out everything they can about their customers. And again, that's not necessarily different from other industries if you're in sales. But in construction, if you don't come from the background and haven't had training like you've had in the PM world and those kind of things, I don't know that just simple things of, what do the contractors try to do to execute work in a profitable way? How do you read the blueprints? I mean, these are all things that the more schooled an individual is at, they probably are more capable of taking on a few more of the difficult challenges, and certainly takes on more complex selling with clients without having to only revert back to our people on the inside to pick up all of that discussion. So I think any bit of information that they can grow in probably helps them. So I appreciate you seeing that as well. One of the things, Chris, that I'd like to ask is, we talk about, and you talked about having good relationships with the inner cells and those kind of things. I love that discussion, but how do you handle, you personally, how have you learned to handle interacting or interfacing with your internal people, the estimators, the pre-con folks, and sometimes they're the same, I get that, project leaders, whether they be PMs or superintendents. How have you found the best way to establish and maintain good relationships with those people?
Brad, Brad, it's critical that you do that so that you have credibility on the inside as well as the outside. And again, it's a matter of spending time with them and show them that you are interested, you value what they do, you value their role in the process and how critical it is. If you've ever been on a construction site and been out there for any length of time, it's a tough job. You're in the weather, you're in the elements, you're managing 15 to 16 subcontractors. That could be 100 to 150 people over 2 acres. The element of risk, keeping people safe. It's a very, very demanding process, a very demanding job. And superintendents are out there every day, 10 to 12 hours a day. They get island fever a little bit. They feel like they're isolated and by themselves due to the nature of the project. And it's critical that you ensure that they know you appreciate what they do and their contribution to the success of the company. And as they get comfortable with that, then they'll get comfortable with your role and what you do, and then they'll help you. But you have to bring them along and bring them into your tent and let them know you're there for their future success. And they get that. They want to know where the next project is. And they love to build, and they love what they do, and they have as much passion for what they do as you. And you have to understand their world. They're not going to come understand yours, I promise you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That is so true. I really appreciate your honesty on. They do have a passion for building, and most of the guys that I've known in the field through the years say, "Hey, look, I just want to build. I don't want to be a salesperson." And yet, you and I both know, Chris, and I know I've heard you say this before. A lot of times, it is that tremendous superintendent or that tremendous PM that sells another job for you with that client.
Absolutely, you need those guys, and they need you. And, you figure out how you become a successful team. And those guys are probably most of them over 50 and a little crusty and set in their ways and very independent in their thinking as well.
Yeah.
Not the easiest to communicate, but they are typically reasonable. And if you are confident and you show them that you love what you do as much as they love what they do, they'll buy in with you and they'll team with you and together you can be successful. It's not an easy journey. They aren't going to roll over for you. That's not their world. But they will partner with you if you show them competency and equal passion.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me take the same premise of the question and take it out externally. And again, this isn't just, playing golf and eating dinners and taking guys out for lunch. I get that. You and I both know BD is a lot more than just those things. And in fact, in some cases, it's getting to be more difficult to take people out for lunch and to play golf as it might have at one time. However, how do you, Chris, how have you found it more effective? And maybe this is a little bit of a style difference, but it's also, I think, just part of reality. How do you handle, or what would you recommend when interfacing, developing better relationships with customers? Maybe those that you've been working hard to get business with that you haven't secured a job yet. How do you maintain those kind of relationships?
Brad, I like what you said about style. What I've witnessed over the years is business development folks have different styles, almost every one of us, and it's a reflection of our personality. So embrace your style. Embrace who you are and how you do business and trust it and develop it. And don't try to mimic someone else's style. It's kind of like being a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
You're a quarterback and that's the way you play the game, and go out and play it the way you play it. And play it with all you have. So I would encourage you to embrace your style, know what it is and understand it, and then lean into it and make it stronger. But the question was, how do you build those relationships with the external customer? And I have an old saying for that one too, Brad. You can't microwave relationships. You can't crock pot them.
I love it.
If you think you're going to go out and create an instant relationship with someone, you're going to get what you put into it. So the key to building a relationship is building trust and being consistent and trying to understand what their challenges are. Those, on the public side, my observation has been if you're dealing with a higher ed customer or a K-12 customer, there's three things they want to do. They want to stay out of the newspaper, they want to get their paycheck on Friday, and they want to get their pension when they retire.
Right.
And I don't say that derogatorily.
No.
You have to understand your customer and what drives them. And on the public side, they're low-profile guys. They don't go to dinner. They don't play golf. But they do want to keep their job, and they want to get that promotion, and they want to get their pension. So, if you understand that about that customer, then you can provide service to them, and then you can explain how your company fits that model. If you're on the private side working with some of the other folks, maybe it's a big box retailer, and they have a big rollout coming out, and they're not sure how to provide construction services around the country. You can reassure them how your company can be a service provider where their needs are, whether it's a renovation or a greenfield, and steps your company has gone to learn how to do that and put him at rest. And he can include you in the process, knowing that both of you are going to be successful. So keep the end in mind. How can you make your customer successful, whatever that is to him or her? And then how do you partner with them to develop that success? And that takes time, and you have to understand them. You have to ask them the right questions. And then they have to trust you're going to deliver that. You're going to go back to your shop and talk to your folks, educate them about their challenges, and create a success model for everyone.
I think that's great. I really appreciate hearing that. That is so true. And I know, you've just kind of sparked in me a recognition that, you and I need to get rejoined and maybe do another conversation strictly on focusing on building relationships. I think, as well as I do, we seem to be losing we're losing a great number of people in our industry through retirement. I think the National Labor Board has actually projected another, I guess the final 35% of the baby boomers will probably either be retired or in that final step in the next 5 to 6 years. And so we really are losing a lot of those folks. And we forget that, the people that we call on have the same issues. So some of the people who you and I perhaps have known or called on the last 5 or 10, 15 years, those guys and gals are retiring also. So there's a new generation of people coming into those positions. And so that relationship building has to be transferred and has to be pursued as well to maintain a relationship for the company.
Well, that's absolutely true. We all are aware of the aging workforce, especially in the field. I think the average carpenter is in their mid-50s.
Yeah.
That's a huge issue for the industry. We've been aware of it for 10 years, and I don't know that we know how to solve it. Robotics are becoming more and more popular. I'm not sure how they fit into the industry overall, but back to your point, we are facing an aging workforce, and transitioning those relationships and that trust is critical to the success of our company.
Yeah. Chris, I appreciate your time so much. Let me ask you one last and final question. And this is really, again, just maybe an encouragement to a business development professional who may be struggling right now. We watch baseball, and as it's starting up again this year, we've seen great hitters go into slumps, and they do all kinds of things to get out of it. Maybe there's a message for the guy or gal that's, not a newbie. They're a veteran. They've got 10, 15 or more years, and they've had moments when they've been terrific. But maybe they're in a slump. Maybe it is a newbie. Maybe it is someone who's new to the business development world, and so they're just getting, they're just seeing everything as a big old, store of candy, and they just don't even know where to start. If you could give a couple of just simple efforts to really grow their career, or maybe relight the career for those that might be more seasoned, what would be a couple of things, maybe some things you do, Chris, just to stay fresh, continue to growing in your career? What would be some advice?
Well, Brad, I'll make it as simple as possible. Hopefully there's appreciation for this statement, but one of the things that keeps me going is this simple thought: is no is one answer closer to yes. And when I get a no, I know I'm getting closer to yes. I try to use that to motivate me, and we all get a lot of no's. You use the baseball analogy. If you can bat 300, you're one of the best hitters in the league. That means you did not get a hit 7 times. And I'm a baseball guy, and so I take solace in that equation as well. And I wish I was hitting 300 in my business development career. The truth is, we close, 2 out of 10 deals, or 1.5 out of 10 deals. So it's tough. There's a lot of rejection out there. There's a lot of no's, and you got to fight through those. And you have to find encouragement in them, and find out why it was no. And the better you understand that, the better chance you have to get to yes.
Mm-hmm.
So a simple thought, but I will tell you, BD folks that have worked for me, that's one of the first things I tell them, is you got to understand no is one inch closer to yes, and you got to keep fighting, because it's tough. It gets tough. A couple other thoughts are that you establish a dominant market. Think about what your company sells and where you can fit in. Are you a K through 12 builder? Are you a higher ed builder? Do you do healthcare? And embrace that and understand that particular vertical market. That's your chance for quickest immersion success, because your company and your folks already have resume. And if you can be a part of that and get a couple wins, and the results thing we have is, I just need a win. If I could just get a win, and there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
If you can get a win and get an easy win, maybe it's a smaller project, but it's a win, and you feel better, and the company feels better. And then finally, we talked about style a little bit before. Understand your style and embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't try to do it like other folks do it. And try to identify a place where you can be a subject matter expert and be seen as either locally with the SMPS or the chamber, or anywhere you can get a little more exposure. Maybe there's a bond for a local school district, and you can be the chair of the bond or be involved in the bond, get recognition that way and set yourself apart, so that you start to develop your own personal brand. It's about branding, whether it's branding for your company or branding for yourself personally, and how do you create that brand, and so that the marketplace begins to see you as an expert, and they come to you for that expertise, and then that'll change the game.
Well, that's all.